Hello gorgeous peeps, I'm Chris from TechSpert, and today we're going to be having a good long hard squint at Xiaomi's freshly launched new super premium flagship smartphone, the Xiaomi 12 Pro. This is ultra lush hardware through and through, including the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset which powers the show. You've got a quad speaker setup in addition to that gorgeous 6.73-inch AMOLED display. Got 120 watt wide charge and 50 watt wireless. You've got a fresh new 50 megapixel Sony IMX707 camera sensor. So basically sploosh, sploosh and sploosh. So let's whip the Xiaomi 12 Pro out the box, take you on a full-on tour of the hardware and the software. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So if you're looking for super premium tech right now, this thing's got the kind of specs to effortlessly take on the likes of Samsung's Galaxy S22 Ultra, the Oppo Find X5 Pro. And what do you get in the box? Well, one Xiaomi 12 Pro, of course. You've also got the absolute beast of a 120 watt fast charge adapter, and I'm not sure if anyone's actually been murdered by a smartphone power adapter, but it would certainly be bloody possible with some of these latest ones. But definitely please don't go staving somebody's skull in and then saying, oh, I got the idea off that bald git on YouTube. We also have one USB cable, and your friends and mine, the ever-reliable condom case to slap onto your Xiaomi 12 Pro and keep it safe from harm. And that's it, nice and straightforward. So now let's crack on with the phone itself. So first impressions of the Xiaomi 12 Pro are very much that it is clearly a premium device, but it is not in your face about it. In fact, the actual aesthetics are very, very simple and straightforward indeed. As you can see there, just a nice, smart, clean finish. Very subtle bit of branding there, certainly. You do have this guff down here, unfortunately, as well, which is kind of a shame. You do have a matte glass finish on here, ever so slightly textured, but still nice and smooth. And gotta say, I'm already liking it because that surface doesn't seem to pick up greasy prints too easily when you're fondling it, and the dock surface does help to mask any little prints that are on there. This right here is the grey model, very austere, as you can see there. If you just want a smart, business-like, straight down the middle kind of finish, then that's probably the one to go for. Otherwise, you can pick up the Xiaomi 12 Pro in purple and blue. And those are the actual colour names that was quoted by Xiaomi as well, just grey, purple and blue. No unnecessary jazziness, no asteroid trail blue or swollen testicle purple. It's a reasonably sizable camera bump on that arse end, as you can see there, juts out fairly far from the surface. So yes, this does mean if the Xiaomi 12 Pro is lying prone on a desk surface, well, there is a good bit of rattle about if you're tapping that screen. This smartphone definitely feels like a premium bit of kit, got quite the heft to it, and as you can see there, the display just curves ever so subtly around the edges there, as is the back end there as well, and the two are just partly separated by a bit of metallic edging. As you can see there, you've got antenna bands on the top end and on the edges and basically all around the bloody thing as well, so you should be able to hold it however you like. And it's a Gorilla Glass Victus finish here on the Xiaomi 12 Pro, so hopefully should prove quite shatter resistant if you're a bit of a butt fingers, accidentally drop the bloody thing, but it is quite vulnerable to scratching, so I'd definitely be careful on that front. Thankfully, Xiaomi has installed a screen protector on this bad boy already, so that was rather kind of them. However, the specs list that I received made no mention of IP water resistance, and I'm a bit too scared to go and, take it in the shower or dunk it in the bath or whatever, but I'd kind of hope it would have some sort of waterproofing. Now, if you're accustomed to Xiaomi smartphones, the software side of things will hold absolutely no surprises whatsoever. It is the latest, freshest Android 12, of course, as you'd expect from a flagship, with MiUI 13 sat all happy and merry on top. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I did have a bit of a bloody nightmare setting up the Xiaomi 12 Pro. Basically, I'd installed all of my apps, gone through all, set up all my accounts and everything, even installed Genshin bloody Impact, all 13 gigs of it, and then all of a sudden it got itself in this weird reboot cycle where it would keep popping up in recovery mode and then just keep resetting itself once I finally made it back into the desktops. And after a lot of cursing and kicking the occasional family member who wandered a bit too close, I eventually calmed down, did a factory reset, and thankfully, touch wood, it's been fine since then, probably helped along by the 4GB system update it performed, which was supposed to improve the software and stability. I will be fully reviewing the Xiaomi 12 Pro, so check that out to see if I had any more software woes. But that wee clanger aside, it's been your standard MiUI software experience, so it's got quite a stock Android vibe. In version 13, you've got your Google Discover feed, your apps tray by default, you can drag down your notifications bar, or if you flick down on the right hand side, you've got the likes of the Control Center, one of those MiUI exclusive features. I say exclusive, they basically completely nicked it off of Apple, and now you've got other rivals doing it as well. But I still like it. It gives you fast access to all of your main toggles. You can just long press to dive into a specific menu. Oh, and spoiler alert, the Xiaomi Buds 3T Pro, very good value premium true wireless earbuds. Full review of those bad boys coming coming in a day or so. And you've got plenty of other MiUI bonus features chucked away on here as well, including the likes of the always on display, which unlike some of the more budget-friendly Xiaomi phones, you can actually have that always turned on now. So when it actually is an always on display, you can also schedule it. And there are lots of different options to choose from, including usual trippy randomness such as a neon cactus. And yes, you can customize some of these as well to remove the kind of CAC mantras that they already have on there. And have it come up with something a little bit more realistic instead. You've also got a one-handed mode, which I do struggle to activate at times, I've got to say. It usually takes me a good few swipes before I finally bloody get there. If you don't have a smartwatch, you can also measure your heart rate using the optical fingerprint sensor. So let's give this wee bugger a go, see how much I'm enjoying this video. And apparently the answer is not that much. I'm actually pretty chilled. Try again after knocking back some pork scratchings and beer earlier and see that rocket through the roof. But anyway, MiUI is packed to the tin with lots of other bonus features as well. I won't go on about them all here, otherwise this video will be about 3 hours long. But speaking of that in-display fingerprint sensor, as I mentioned before, it's just an optical sensor, not an ultrasonic scanner, unfortunately. It just takes a basic 2D image of your fingerprint, but to be fair, touch wood so far, seems very responsive and accurate. I haven't seen a single screw up from the thing. It even works pretty well after I've just washed my hands as well, which is a true test of any optical fingerprint sensor. And you also have a bit of face unlock action as well if for whatever reason you can't use the fingerprint sensor using gloves or whatever. And as you can see there, super swift again. No buggering about, just straight in. On the storage side of things, you've got 256 gigs of the stuff by default. Not a huge amount taken up by the system, but quite a lot already taken up by apps and not just my own apps. As always with Xiaomi smartphones, you also get a bugger ton of crud packed in here by default as well. So Zoom, I've got absolutely all idea what that is. That can bugger right off. The likes of TikTok and stuff as well. It doesn't look quite as bad actually here on the Xiaomi 12 Pro compared with a lot of Xiaomi smartphones. You don't get a ton of crap games packed on here by way of example. And some stuff like the security app, actually pretty useful. This just helps to clear up all the clutter on your smartphone. You've got a block list function for any spammy twats. You can troubleshoot your smartphone, test the Wi-Fi network or the mobile network that you're on. But if you do find yourself running low on storage, you'll just have to uninstall any apps that you don't need, etc. Unfortunately, there's no expandability via micro SD memory cards. All you got on this thing is a double-sided SIM tray, so space for 2 SIM cards simultaneously, but yeah, no micro SD. Oh, and forgot to mention it is of course UFS 3.1 storage as well, so nice and nippy. Certainly downloading apps is a very swift experience. So let's have a little shift on to the media chops of the Xiaomi 12 Pro and let's focus on that 6.73-inch AMOLED display. Now, of course, it's got strong competition in this area. Pretty much every premium flagship now comes with a WQHD Plus AMOLED panel. So 3200 by 1440 pixel resolution, so nice crisp visuals. Or at least you will enjoy those nice crisp visuals as long as you remember to dive into the display settings, head to the resolution section and change it from the default, which is Full HD Plus, up to that maximum WQHD Plus effort. You've got full 10-bit color support here, you got Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus streaming on supported services, and yeah, nice sharp contrast, deep blacks, standard fare really for a premium panel. And by default, the colors aren't super poppy and in your face, gotta say, even though when you dive into the display settings, go to color scheme, it is set to vivid mode by default. Not quite as poppy as against some of the competition, but still very strong for animation, anime, and everything. More visually vibrant fare will definitely still look very good indeed. And you can change up the color output here in the display settings if you would prefer. So you can have adaptive colors as well. So for instance, blue light filtering in more ambient light. You can set it to the P3 or the sRGB gamuts as well if you'd prefer. And yeah, verily, you do have LTPO AMOLED tech here. So basically you've got the full refresh range supported from 1Hz all the way up to 120Hz. You can leave it on auto mode if you like, otherwise you can actually custom select between 60, 90 and 120Hz refresh if you want it stuck on a particular level. Let's shift on to the audio, and Xiaomi rather boldly claims that this thing has got a quad speaker output, which is, as far as I'm concerned, a first for smartphones. I've certainly not fondled another phone that's had quad speakers. These have been fine-tuned by Omung Cordon. They do actually have a very subtle, very dinky little bit of branding up top here. So teeny, my knackered old peepers can barely even read it. But I clearly need to go back to school because I'm struggling to even count up to 4 here. You do have a speaker grill here on the bottom edge, as you can see there. You've also got one on the top edge. And then for your media, you also have the earpiece speaker, which blares the sound as well. And then I can't find this fourth one anywhere. on this bloody thing. I've looked really hard. And I've also tried bumping up the sound really loud and then smothering those 3 speakers, and it certainly sounds like that's the only actual output areas. But all the same, the audio is proper bloody good. Let's just bump up the volume and show it off. You know, somehow the hatred burning in my very soul was calmed when I just, you know, chucked on some anime on this thing and just drank in those lush visuals. Absolutely stunning stuff. So while that's not the loudest output I've ever heard from a smartphone, it certainly punches at a decent volume. So if you are trying to, you know, watch a bit of YouTube or Netflix or something in a rowdy kitchen, lots of stuff going on, shouldn't be a problem. Good clarity when you're just watching a video or something as well, although I definitely wouldn't recommend listening to music on those things. You'll definitely want to get some headphones connected. And when I say get some headphones connected, I do of course mean via Bluetooth 5.2 because there's no headphone jack on this thing. You've got full Dolby Atmos support, and if you've got a supported pair of Bluetooth headphones, you've got LHDC action on there as well. No surprises as far as the performance goes. You've once again got Qualcomm's Byyyeeee Big Bollocks Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 SoC packed on here. Powers all the big premium Androids pretty much in 2022, including the likes of the Oppo Find X5 Pro, even fairly affordable efforts like the Realme GT 2 Pro. Very strong benchmarking results, as you can see there, so unsurprisingly the Xiaomi 12 Pro can power through absolutely anything you chuck its way. And of course, one of the best ways of showing off that grunt is with a good bit of gaming. When you are busy capping fools or whatever in your favorite title, you do have that game mode, game turbo mode to give it the proper title, which really helps out in a few areas. So for instance, if you're playing a really demanding title like Genshin Impact, you can swap the gaming mode from balanced to performance. That'll just really help to dedicate all of the phone's resources, really make sure you are maxing out the memory allocation and all that good stuff. You've also got the ability to clear the memory with a quick tap like so if you need to, if you find the game is starting to get a bit stuttery. You've also got fast access to Do Not Disturb, so no notifications will pop up and annoy you.
Got a quality bit of voice change in action, as always.
And if you're keen to know precisely how much of your limited lifespan you are pissing away on your bit of mobile gaming, there's even a timer function. I guess that would be quite good for speed runs and such forth, but personally I'd rather not know. So perhaps unsurprisingly, a near flawless gaming experience here on the Xiaomi 12 Pro. Something like a Call of Duty Mobile, bump up those detail settings to the highest possible levels. You'll enjoy a satisfyingly smooth experience. That frame rate never stumbles. The screen responsiveness was perfect, and of course it's a really spacious panel as well, so that certainly helps out when you're looking for any sneaky little sniping buggers. But then, of course, to really test out that Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 grunt, I bunged a good bit of Genshin Impact on here. Again, bumped it right up to the highest detail settings at 60 FPS. And yeah, there were a couple of little judders here and there, a couple of little teeny drops in the frame rate when things got pretty full on, shall we say. But apart from that, I mean, basically it was, again, super smooth, super flawless. The arse end of the Xiaomi 12 Pro did start to get quite toasty after about sort of 30 or 40 minutes of prolonged gameplay, but even after an hour or so, I didn't notice any throttling, the performance didn't drop or anything, and my fingertips weren't exactly getting seared by the back end of this thing. And that's no doubt helped along by the liquid cool tech, including a huge whopper of a vapor chamber and a good bit of graphite sheeting as usual. As far as the connectivity goes, well, again, no shocks or surprises there. You've got 5G support across both of those SIM slots. You've got Wi-Fi 6E support as well. On the battery front, you've got a 4,600 milliamp cell crammed inside of the Xiaomi 12 Pro. So not the biggest round, but still pretty bloody sizable. And so far this morning, I got up at 7 AM. I've had this phone pretty much screen on the entire time between 7 and 10 o'clock. I've been streaming some videos, streaming some music. I've also been doing a bit of gaming on this thing and just showing off all the features to you fine folk, and it's still set at 79%, which is a very respectable effort indeed. However, for more news on the battery front, definitely come back and check out my Xiaomi 12 Pro review, which should be going live at probably about the same time as this unboxing, because we're still a good week and a half off the official launch. Going to be using this as my full-time blower between now and then, so definitely full battery verdict right there. And even if the battery life wasn't fantastic, it wouldn't matter a huge amount because you've got 120 watt wired charging on this thing. So plug it in and basically it'll give you 50% in under 10 minutes. So no worries on that front. You've also got 50 watt wireless charging if you've got a supported wireless charging pad. So yeah, So as always, let's finish this unboxing of the Xiaomi 12 Pro with a squint at the camera tech, which is spearheaded here by a 50 megapixel Sony IMX707 sensor. Now the 707 is quite a large sensor, so it should prove very capable for low light photography. I will of course be fully testing this for my review. But it is your standard Xiaomi camera UI, so all the features you would expect are present and correct, including the AI mode. You've got all the various filters and lenses, of course. All those bonus bits like the portrait mode to really help your subjects stand out. Because the 12 Pro camera uses pixel binning like pretty much every smartphone these days, you have a dedicated 50 megapixel mode if you want to shoot at that maximum resolution. You got your night mode, which I will certainly be testing out to the fullest. And even a super moon mode if you really want to shoot a super shot of the moon. 4 reasons. And your usual pro mode shenanigans as well, so you can have a full-on tinker with all of the usual ISO levels, the white balance, etc. You can again shoot at the maximum 50 megapixel resolution if you want. Play around with saturation, contrast, and sharpness levels. As for those other 2 lenses slapped on the back, well, you've got an ultra wide angle shooter and it is once again a 50 megapixel resolution sensor. So you should be able to get nice detailed shots, hopefully in low light environments as well. And then rounding off the show is a 50 megapixel telephoto lens as well. This serves up a 2x optical zoom, so the same as the Oppo Find X5 Pro, not as strong as some rivals, of course, with periscope lenses instead. You've got 48mm focal length, and I will of course be fully testing this out. Looks like it maxes out at 20 times. And if you want to shoot video, well, you can actually shoot up to 8K resolution footage if you want to, bump it all the way up at 24 FPS. Otherwise, I prefer to leave it at 4K. You can shoot at 30 or 60 FPS. And one of the other benefits of leaving it at 4K, other than the fact that it doesn't absolutely wallop your phone's storage, is the fact you can shoot in HDR mode as well. Good for those high contrast scenes. There's actually HDR10 Plus as well, and you'll be able to enjoy it on the HDR10 Plus compatible display. And that is actually an option as well. If you dive on into the camera settings, you can just set it to normal HDR10. If you like, you've got an HLG option in there, and you've also got some smart focus options in here. For both your photo and your video purposes, you've got motion track and focus in there. You've also got auto eye focus as well for shooting photos. And I'll be testing those little features out with a hyperactive 6-year-old and crazy cats. So that right there, you beautiful bugger, is the Xiaomi 12 Pro in a nutshell, and certainly looks like some seriously premium tech. I've enjoyed my time spent so far with this smartphone. My SIM is buried in this bugger as well, so definitely stay tuned for my in-depth review, which, as I say, should be dropping very shortly after this unboxing. So I'll have an in-depth look at the camera tech, the battery life, and of course the software performance as well, which, as I say, touch wood, has been perfectly stable since that factory reset and that update. Definitely let me know any questions, comments, etc. down in the comment section down beneath my chatting face, and please do subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a fan-bloody-tastic rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you.